Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs.
Hi everybody, welcome to episode 104. Being real doesn't mean being negative. Have you ever heard somebody say, be realistic? That's not realistic. Or have you ever seen somebody who tries to act positive all the time and act like everything's rainbow and butterflies and all of that? Actually, Lindsay and I can speak for myself, I've been in both places before. And I realized over the last 12 years that life is made up of both negative and positivity. And I think by the end of this episode, you'll look at negativity and positivity in a different light. I hope everybody enjoys the show.
Hi guys, welcome back. We're so excited that you're here. Today's episode is all about how being real doesn't mean being negative.
And by the end of this episode, they're gonna have a totally different idea about what being negative or what being positive actually means.
Yeah.
And then I think a different idea of like who we are as people.
Yeah, by the end of the episode, you're gonna think, oh, okay, now maybe I understand them a little bit better. And you'll understand yourself a little bit better too, because you're gonna start to get some insights on why there's certain behaviors that are coming out of you too. So I'm excited about today because this is something that Tony and I always talk about all of the time. Every week practically, we have a conversation about positive and negative. And one of the huge pet peeves that I have is being misunderstood. And there's a reason that I feel that way, because I'm not speaking up enough about this topic.
Exactly, and I feel like we're not being as clear as we need to be. You see, because we come off as like we're putting out positivity and maybe like a lot of you to where you want to bring light to the world. Why is that? Is it because we came out of the womb like that? To where we're like, yeah, positive, unicorns and all of that. It's not because of that. I think it goes back to both of our stories and what we went through in our life experiences and what we don't want to experience anymore.
Yeah, and I actually went through a wave of different things. Like for me, and it's so interesting, I don't have the book with me, but I was gonna share the Dying to Be Me book. But for me, there was a pivotal moment that everything shifted. So I went from maybe complaining and saying, oh, I'm so tired when someone would say, how are you doing? Because I had this fear that if I said I was doing good, I would look like I was too good. I don't know where that came from, but if people would say, hey, how are you doing, Lindsay? I'd say, oh, I'm so tired. And I'd realize after I'm not tired. But I told that story. Then I read the book, The Secret, and was so focused on being positive because I wanted to attract the right things. And then that soon shifted. And I can go into that in a little bit too, because I kind of want to hear, Tony, your viewpoint. Did you feel like after you read the book, The Secret, you felt like you had to be positive?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I had to be positive. And I shared it with every single body
I did too.
Around me. Even people at the post office, like people were looking at me weird. Because I thought that, man, if they just watch this information, they're going to have the same transformation that I had. But I forgot that all the little seeds that planted 10 years before that for me actually led me to where I could receive that information. You see, I have a desire to spread light into this world because of how I grew up. You see, I grew up maybe like a lot of you, and from what I find, I think the stats are 85% of families and everything are dysfunctional, right? And I don't want to blame the school systems. I don't want to blame anybody. It just is how it is. And seeing a lot of people around me experience depression and sadness, and then myself experiencing depression in 9th grade, and then after that at different times, and all these insecurities that I had, I started to develop this deep desire to share anything that helped me. So when it was working out, I realized working out helped me feel better. When it was The Secret, I was like, oh my God, ignorance on fire. Like I was like all over the place, sharing this with every single body, like I said, because I thought that this is how you can help people.
That's exactly what happened to me. And it was actually me and Nick, where I discovered The Secret because my mom said, you have to hear about this. It was on Oprah, The Secret. So my mom told me about it. I told Nick, and we were obsessed with sharing it with everyone. And he was really frustrated because people weren't responding like he wanted them to be. Same with me. I'm like, I wanted to tell everyone about this, and it almost sounds like out there when you hear be positive, you'll attract different things.
Yeah, it sounds like voodoo or like kind of weird. Like
Right,
if you never heard that before.
It's different. And I still believe in the law of attraction, definitely, without a
100%.
doubt, it's happening. But it wasn't until 2007 when Nick passed away. And I know that was a pivotal time for you too. In other areas, Nick passing away, your aunt passing away. And with me, I had no energy to be positive at all. Emotionally, I couldn't be positive for other people. I couldn't put people before myself like I was doing. And I was so drained energetically because of the grief that I was in. I was just rolling out of bed just to teach the kids. If you guys saw a picture of me, or some of you know what I was like then, you would see on my face how empty I was, and with my physical body, how much weight I lost when that happened. And I'm not saying that to go into victim mode, because I was actually there for a really long time. And it got to the point where I started to get sick of hearing myself talk and started to think, I got to change the story. Like, this needs to be shifted around. And that's why I realized, I actually discovered the book Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. And I recognized that being positive or negative, no matter what you are, as long as you're being your truth, you're speaking in your truth and you're feeling a certain way, that is the most important thing that you can do. And she recognized that when she had her near-death experience, died, went to heaven. She was so positive. She was a complete people pleaser, wasn't saying how she felt. And that's actually how she got to where she was.
Absolutely. So it's like with you and with like a lot of other people, you have these, you only learn, like you learn more through negative experience, I think, in my experience. And that's what happened. So like you saw how Lindsay, when Nick passed away and all this stuff and your whole life crumbles around you. Yeah, it's really hurtful. Like you said, it's really, you could fall into a depression like Lindsay, you did pretty much. You fell into a depression. You didn't want to eat, right?
Yeah.
You didn't want to.
First, I remember at the very beginning, I couldn't eat. I couldn't.
Right. So that's over the last 10 years. So I'm 32 years old right now. I came across the law of attraction when I was 21. I came across psychology when I was 19, my first year in college. And all of this stuff stimulated my mind, and it did transform my mind. The way that I focused started to transform my life, no doubt about it. But over the last 10 years, after I've hit rock bottoms in my own life, after I experienced deep pain in my own life, through all of these different things, I realized that it's through facing that pain and going through it and feeling it. There's like heaven on the other side. You transcend it. Let me give you a quick story. So 2 days ago, was it 2 days ago with the bird? Okay, here's the story. So
we never shared this with anyone yet.
No, we didn't. And I'm sharing it with you because I value all of you. And this is a very sacred story to me. It's about a blue jay. It was either an eastern bluebird or a blue jay. We're not really quite for sure yet. But Lindsay and I 2 nights ago were walking. And then all of a sudden, I'm walking Romeo, Lindsay's walking with me, and all of a sudden I jump up, I'm like, oh my Lord, there's something flapping around on the ground. And it's this blue jay. It's this bluebird that's laying there and it can't move. It could only flap one of its wings. Instantly, I felt all of the pain of this bluebird. Almost instantly within 5 minutes, I'm like sobbing like a baby. I'm feeling all this pain. I'm seeing this bird suffer on the ground, not even being able to move, looking into its eyes and just feeling so bad for it. Okay? So this went on, and then eventually we decided, after going home and then coming back and all that, we decided we're going to put this bird in a box and we're going to drive it to the veterinary emergency room. And long story short, we called the next day, which was yesterday, and we found out that the bird actually passed away overnight. So I tell you all of that because, yes, was it painful seeing the bird just laying there, like you're looking like a victim, looking like it's down to its last breath, barely breathing, can't even move its wings. It was so painful for me. It was actually one of the most painful things I went through in a long time. And I went through it. I felt it. I felt every energy of it. And then what happened was very interesting over these last couple of days is I felt like I went through that pain. I reflected on it and I started to develop a meaning from it. I started to find meaning in it and purpose through reflecting, through feeling the pain, through feeling this negativity. And I can remember when we were driving back from the veterinary office that we were like, there's like this heavenly energy inside of our car right now. We said those exact words. Okay, so how did we get to that heavenly energy? It was through the negativity. It was through feeling all of that pain. And then you transcend it. On the other side of that is this heavenly energy. You know, we don't have to sit here and be all positive and be like, oh, it didn't, you know, seeing that bird hurt, it didn't affect us at all. No, it affected me tremendously. But if we learn to look at all the negativity in the world, not ignore it, not put the blinders on and act like it doesn't exist, even within ourselves, not just outside in the world, we look within ourselves, inside of ourselves, and we feel that pain. We go through it. We find out, where is that coming from? That's when you can actually release that negative frequency or that hurt frequency, and you can start to develop meaning and purpose from it.
I love that. You did a really good job of sharing that story, because it's hard to put into words what happened, and Tony was definitely connected to this bird, and I felt connected to it too, but there was communication that was taking place during the whole process, and it's hard to put into words what happened, but it's true that during negative situations, like, that is reality. If you're feeling negative, that's a good thing. Like, that's okay. That's a human.
It's totally okay.
Thing. But for me, like, giving the example back to 2007, for me, it took me, I don't even know how many years to even have any kind of learning from the experience. Like, I'd be in the present moment and have fun and lived my life and did those types of things. But really, in the back of my mind, I was angry that my life was supposed to look like a certain way. And then after, I started to realize, wow, like, things, I can look at this and take this situation into a new direction. And I think being able to be honest with your feelings is the most important thing, but also think about the negativity and the positivity. Where is that coming from? This is a question to ask yourself right now. If you are being positive, are you doing it to do I'm putting this in quotes, if you're listening to this on iTunes, are you doing this to do the right thing, for it to morally be okay? Are you doing the positivity conversations with friends or family because you want to make sure that you're satisfying the need that they need right now? You want to satisfy their need? Or are you doing the positivity because you're afraid to ruffle any feathers? You know, are you truly being honest with anything that's going on in your life and truly expressing yourself? Because there's ways that you can kind of bend around situations, and you'll have a conversation with one person and act like you have certain beliefs with one idea, and then you go to another person and shift your beliefs because that's how the conversation's going. Like, think about that kind of thing when it comes to positivity. Other thing that can cause you to be positive when you're not feeling it with anyone in your life is if you do it out of guilt. That doesn't make it any better. There's actually more pain in being positive when you're associating with, I have to do this because I feel guilty if I don't. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes so much sense.
That's what the positivity side. So you might want to take the negativity side, because you're good at explaining that. Well,
before we go there, I wanted to add too, it seems real quick that I got over the bird, and it happened really quickly. This is over a decade of practice and reflecting with this. I didn't always find meaning in things this quickly. This takes practice. And like a lot of you that's been practicing this, you understand, like Lindsay, it took you years, and it's not like you get over it. It's more like you transform the way that you see that event in your life. So you transform it, and you don't do it by just us telling you. This takes work. This takes practice. This takes focus. This takes being in the right environments. It takes a lot of different things. It's not like I'm trying to make this seem like it's, oh yeah, just listen to us and it happens right away. It doesn't happen that way, does it? No,
it doesn't. And I want to tell you something else. I'm going to speak about this because this is something that I'm really passionate about too, that I've kind of held inside. I think people that saw me in that state of grief, where I was like hardly getting out of bed, and did have those moments of being like happy and then miserable and happy and miserable, it was very uncomfortable for people to see me in a happy space. All of a sudden I'm online, all of a sudden I'm sharing positive quotes, and I'm doing all these things, but I realized how miserable I was, which rightfully so. You know, if you lose someone, it's going to happen. But I think there's confusion. Like all of a sudden, what? All of a sudden, Lindsay's all happy and positive. So it really was uncomfortable for me because people thought she's okay now. No, that doesn't mean that you're fully okay.
Right.
But there's lessons in it, and there's other things happening behind the scenes of, oh, okay, I could look at the situation in a different way. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It doesn't make it any easier, but it shifts the energy of, okay, I'm going to use this energy and channel it in a way to help the masses, not
Absolutely.
just keep this to myself. And because I was ready for that. And if you're listening to this, there could be a situation in your life. Maybe it was a breakup. Maybe it was a death. Maybe it was losing a job. Maybe it was something that flipped your life upside down. And maybe it took 10 years, but you started to see, wow, like I can take this and either be crippled by this event, or I can use it to propel me to another level and have more of a meaning out of life. And now I feel like with the situations that we've had in our life that we haven't even shared with everyone, one day
There's more stories to come.
There's more
trust me, when the
stories.
time's right.
Yeah.
You guys don't even understand.
You don't even understand the stuff. But one of the things that can come from that is you can use it as fuel to keep you moving. I feel like that's like the big thing, to use it to fuel you.
Right.
And you can see the beauty in the little things in life, and you start to push the other things like, I'm going to say laser focused on this. I'm not going to focus on this stuff.
Right.
Because that's not important to me.
Right. So right now, think about what is a traumatic or a painful experience that you went through. Doesn't matter if it was a year ago, 10 years ago, when you were a kid, and you transcended it. How did you do that? What were the steps? What was your thinking? Because that's where you're going to find your keys to how you could transcend the current pains and traumas that are still holding you back. Because we all have, I feel like it's a never-ending thing here, to where we all have stuff inside of us, either from the world or the environment that we grew up in, or a lot of different reasons, to where if we learn how to look deep inside our souls and reflect on it, we could do this. We could turn a negative traumatic event into something where we find meaning. And I find more times than not that it's always that person taking that event, learning from it, and then finding a way to help other people that are going through the same thing. I find it that when we're helping other people after we help ourselves, that starts to heal us at a faster rate.
That's when I started to heal, actually. When I started to share things.
Right. It's part of your healing.
Because I didn't even know I was healing in that I knew I was doing a lot of inner work by myself before I went out public.
So let's go to the people that think being negative is being realistic. Because how many of you people listening to this podcast, comment below if you ever experienced this, and any insights that you've had so far, please comment below and share with us. We want to extend this conversation. How many of you had this great idea to where you're like, I'm going to help change the world, and you started to put this light out there, and then everybody around you and other people were like, be realistic. That's too positive. Or they didn't say those words. They said it in a different way, but that's really what they were saying. Look, anybody listening right now thinking that being negative is being realistic, not true. We have an abundance of evidence that proves that what we focus on, where our energy goes, my ear is ringing too. I've been feeling somebody around here the whole entire time. Where we focus on, the energy that we focus on, that's where we go. That's the energy that we create. We have Dr. Emoto's water study, to where we look at the water, and with negative energy or positive energy, it transforms at the cellular level. Dr. Joe Dispenza's books, he's doing seminars all over the world, to where he's doing meditations, helping people shift their focus through breathing, through meditation, and they're healing all these different. There's
all of a sudden blind people are seeing that they had like 3% of
sounds
sight.
Crazy, but just do your research.
Miracles are taking place. People
all
that
over.
are on their deathbed when it connects to cancer are going through these meditations and changing at the cellular level.
And that's why Lindsay and I choose to focus on how can we have meaning in our life? How can we use the light that came into our life and share it with people? And this podcast is part of that. And we understand that all of you want to know our pains and our struggles. That's why with each episode, if you go in, we share a little bit each episode, because look, this is going on and on. At the events that we do, we go even deeper. It's even more intimate because it's more of a safe space to do that. And the thing is,
yeah, I was gonna say, even like down to the title of this episode, I was like, should we add the word positive into it?
Right.
And Tony's like, well, humans, they're gonna respond to the negative, which is true.
Right.
Naturally, us humans, we relate to, oh, I went through a tough time. I want someone else to join in on that.
Exactly.
So the important piece of this is, just because someone is sharing things that come from a space of negativity doesn't mean that those people are considered real. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
it's
like
all over the internet.
You can share positivity. It doesn't mean you're fake. Like that's like my big pet peeve too, is
exactly
people knowing like this isn't about like just being positive. This is choosing.
Right.
This is what I want to do in this moment with this situation. Of course, I'm going to show the reality after I go through something and I want to share that, but it won't be while I'm going through it. I won't put my attention. I remember a couple of years ago, someone commented and she said to me, I'm seeing you sharing all this positive stuff, but you're sharing something with me that you're going through. Why don't you post that on social media?
Right.
Because I don't choose to do that.
Exactly.
Because I'm not done going through that. I'm choosing to tell a close friend or someone that, you know, needs that in the moment. Like, don't worry, I'm going through this right now too. You're going to get through it, but I'm not ready to post it on social media until I'm done with it.
Yes.
Like, that's when I'll share. When there's another meaning, not when it's like electrically charged with something that I'm going through and I have no clue how to navigate through it. So it's something to think about too. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And listen, all those people that are telling, even you that have podcasts or you do videos or you're a teacher or you're a psychic medium, whatever you're doing, you're going to have those people, well, why don't you do it this way? And guess what? Think about it. All those people are always where?
Sidelines.
Sidelines. They're never in the game. You'll never hear somebody in the game trying to tell you what story to use or what, unless you're asking for it and you're coaching. A professional knows.
That's a different story. And I made a mistake a couple of weeks ago where I wanted to help a friend and they weren't looking for anything. And I stepped out and I said some things like, okay, I'm seeing the light at the end of your tunnel. I want you to feel better. You should do this, this, and that. It bit me. Like, if someone's not asking for it, don't give it.
Yes. And I love that you said that, because look, what you believed last Tuesday, you don't have to believe anymore this Tuesday. Yeah. You could shift through your experiences. And that's what we're talking about here, is reflecting on all the negative experiences, the positive experiences, and figuring out, like, what do I now believe? You don't have to hold on to beliefs your whole life, because look, we live in a universe to whatever you believe, that's what you create.
Exactly. And you're going to end up at the same destination in the end. That's what I believe. But you can make your surroundings a little bit more beautiful along the way, or whether it's negative or positive, whatever. It's pretty, it's not pretty. You're going to see these things, but how are you going to navigate through it to get to your destination? That's the big thing to think about. So please comment below, share your insights, share this with all of your friends, your negative friends and your positive friends, because like we said at the beginning, forget exactly what it was, but after they watch all this, they might view negativity and positivity in a different light. And do me a favor, if you're someone that's been watching our podcast but you haven't said anything, introduce yourself. Tell us that you've been listening. Tell us your insights. We want to hear from you. We receive tons of private messages and public messages too, but I know some people are listening and they want to speak up and they might feel afraid. We like to hear from you guys, so share that with us.
This is your call to action, to be courageous. Type your insights, type your ideas, because look, what you write, what we say might not impact the listener, but what you write might be the thing that impacts them.
Exactly. We hope you enjoyed this episode and we will talk to you next time. Bye guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.